So happy to be here. And can I thank you for starting at 9 a.m. because typically we do this in the evening and I'm half asleep. So I appreciate that. Most of you know I'm Mayling Armijo. I'm a candidate for mayor. I'm from Albuquerque. I currently work with small businesses in accessing capital to purchase commercial properties and equipment. I've been doing that for the last 3 years. So if you work in commercial real estate, I maybe have helped one of your clients. I am a graduate of UNM, and prior to my work in lending, I was a deputy county manager for Sandoval County and was your director of economic development at Bernalillo for 12 years, where I helped bring in $1.4 billion in private investment and helped create over 5,000 jobs. I also worked with the state of New Mexico under Bill Richardson for economic development, where we did projects like Hewlett-Packard, Fidelity, and Netflix, all of those companies that are still here today. So I look forward to the conversation and the opportunity, and hopefully we can have a little fun and we won't bore you all to death. Thank you.
Well, good morning, and it's good to be back. My father was actually a realtor, and part of this group. And I know how much you care about homeownership and about helping our city. We all live here together, and you have to sell that each and every day. Now, I want to acknowledge that these are tough times. It's hard to do your work actually right now. And it's hard because of, I think, two reasons. We have Albuquerque's own issues that we've had for decades, and then we also have national trends on top of those. And you asked me to face these issues head on, to do the real work to actually fix some of these longstanding challenges. And I know that deep change also takes time. It's not just a flip of a switch. It's not just changing out a person. It takes real hard work every day for years. And now we're starting to see some real progress. And I'll talk about whether it's APD or whether it's homelessness or whether it's built environment. So now is no time to turn back. We know what's working and we have to keep pushing forward. I stand before you as, I believe, the only candidate with a specific plan and answers to your questions. And ran over time. I bet.
Thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate being here. I'm an retired Albuquerque police officer. I'm running for mayor because our city needs a new direction. Everyone in here knows that. We're in dire straits right now in Albuquerque, and that new direction needs to be, I'm going to go over leadership, crime's out of control, no public trust. We have a reactive administration, and we have low economic development. Those are our key issues. I spent my life in Albuquerque serving the community. I've helped protect families as a police officer, and now I'm a city council helping to make sure that your money's spent in the right way. I feel I bring experience, I bring accountability and transparency back to Albuquerque, and we need that more than anything in these times. So, Louie Sanchez, vote for me, Mayor of Albuquerque. Thank you.
Alex.
Good morning. My name is Alex Uballez. It's great to be here with all of you. I'm a lawyer by trade, which means, like many of you, I spend my life meeting people from all walks of life and everywhere in this city. And I've seen the best and the worst and learned about everybody here who loves this place so very much for its deep culture and its deep strength. But I've also seen what you see, which is a city in decline. I live downtown in the house I moved into with my wife 15 years ago, and I've seen the change in our community. We have seen homelessness double in the past 3 years. We saw all-time high in homicides in 2022. And so I was the United States Attorney here. I've spent my career in public safety and in public service. I started as a crimes against children prosecutor, then a cartel investigator for the feds, before I was the United States Attorney and the Chief Federal Law Enforcement Officer for the district. And I know that we need to use our law enforcement tools intelligently and surgically, but I also know that as a city, we need to build the support systems so that people don't fall into crime and to homelessness, so we can build the city and the neighborhoods and the communities that the people here deserve. Thank you.
Eddie. Darren.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. Let me just tell you, bear with me with my throat. It's not being my friend the last couple of weeks. Listen, these forums are important because we have an opportunity to point out some of the outrageous statements that my opponents make, like Mayling this morning saying it was great to be here at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, absurd. Let me tell you, we've been doing this for 2 months, and so if there's not a little levity back and forth, then it's going to be really brutal. But my name's Darren White. I'm running for mayor because Albuquerque is at a tipping point. We've had record-breaking crime with over 750 murders in less than 8 years. And our criminals are becoming younger and more vicious. And we have a homeless problem that is so bad, we have city employees that are dispatched daily to clean up human waste. That is not a city that we want to live in. I think we deserve better. And thank you.
We're going to start with the first question, and we'll start with Tim. Many residents and businesses cite public safety as a key factor in neighborhood decline or growth. What specific actions would you take to make Albuquerque's communities safer and more appealing for homeownership and long-term investment?
You know, when I came in, our police department was literally falling apart. We were losing officers. We were under a DOJ consent decree, and morale was low. We decided to fight crime differently. We decided to fight crime with technology and civilians. And so that's why we put up license plate readers and speed cameras, tickets some of you may have gotten, and gunshot detection. We have this crime fighting platform over 20% of the city, and where it is, we have seen dramatic drops in crime. And so the way this works is you get the shell casing, you run it through a database, and you look at the cameras, and then you arrest people and you put them in jail. We are now capable of doing that as a department. And then we use civilians to take calls that officers shouldn't have to. So our ACS department, which is a Department of Social Workers, we're the only city in the country that has that. They respond to down and outs and calls like that, so officers are focused to fight crime. They've taken 150,000 calls that APD did not have to take. That's why for the first time in 10 years, at least every crime category is finally trending down, but we've got a long way to go.
Louie.
Thank you. If there was 150 calls handled by ACS, we would see a difference by now. I just don't believe that fact. If we had 150 calls that were handled by APD, we'd probably, 150,000 calls, we'd be seeing a big difference in our city. Bottom line is this city needs 1,600 police officers to do the job properly, and we just can't hire police officers. Police officers are smart. They're not stupid. They vet our city. They vet what's going on here in Albuquerque. They want to know whether they're going to come and work for a police department and a mayor who has their back. That is obviously not happening. So we need to make sure that we change the leadership, because right now the leadership is broken. Crime is still out of control. There is still no public trust. And we need to make sure that we have proactive programs instead of reactive programs. As mayor, I will make sure that we hire a youth police chief that has the ability to come in here and do the job, let him do his work, and make sure that Albuquerque becomes a safer place so that everyone in this building can thrive and be successful.
Alex.
Everyone in this room knows that public safety is not just statistics, but it's a feeling. And so the way that we feel on our streets matters a lot to whether people choose to live in our communities. Public safety is obviously number one, and we need to respond to and solve crimes. That's what I've done for my whole career. The thing I've learned as a career in public safety is that we have to invest in prevention and intervention first. That's the only way we reduce crime, because what happens when you put people in jail is they come back out and they do more crime. And so I think we have to look first at crime. We have to look second at fixing homelessness, because the way we feel on our streets has a lot to do with the people who live on it. And dealing with homelessness has everything to do with dealing with the factors of poverty, addiction, and mental health, with the medical response and the housing response that it deserves. And finally, we have to think proactively about placemaking, about the communities and building a city that preserves our culture, but also builds a future. And so looking at how we build unique areas like our downtown and then on our west side, so they feel like the places that people want to live.
Eddie?
Jessica, thank you. This time I turned my mic on. I'm a candidate that has real plans. I've been working on this for a couple of years. How to make our city safer. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put together a curfew. 18-year-olds and under will not be on the streets of Albuquerque under my administration. This is an emergency situation, and that's what's going to make it work, because we have 11, 12, 13-year-olds killing people. It's not the youth of yesterday, it's the youth of today, and it's very dangerous. We're going to stop that with a curfew. And we're also going to initiate immediately a police ROTC in the high schools. All right, we know ROTC works. I've talked to many, many cops. They like the idea. It'll be taught by retired police officers, and we're going to graduate young people from the high schools within a year, and they'll go directly into the public safety thing. When they turn 21, we're going to hire them as police officers. Thank you.
Darren?
Thank you. I believe the fundamental role of government is to keep people safe, and that's exactly how I'll lead. The first thing that I would do is I would hire a new chief, one who's a strong and inspirational leader, one that the officers can be proud of and the public can be proud of as well. We have to get back to proactive policing. We have to go back to addressing the small crimes, because when you ignore the small crimes, it breeds bigger and more violent crimes. We have to get out and start doing traffic stops, because when you're out there stopping traffic, you are finding people that have warrants, some of those warrants for violent felonies. You're finding people that are up to no good. Traffic cameras don't do that. I will also look to put in place a juvenile crime unit. I'm old enough to remember where they called it the juvie unit. But as I said, criminals are younger and they're more violent and they're more vicious. And we need to have specialty detectives to be able to deal with this emerging trend, a very disturbing emerging trend. And thank you.
Mayling?
I'll turn mine on too, Eddie. So for me, quality of life is safety. And so we need more cops. We need to boost recruitment. We have to hire a new police chief. We have more cops doing administrative stuff than on the streets. We've got to flip that around. We need to focus again on community policing initiatives, beat patrols, neighborhood liaisons, and mental health crisis teams. Not just more cruisers and patrols for overtime, but real community initiatives and policing with our department and neighborhoods.
Next, our question will begin with Louie. The cost of housing is closely tied to how efficiently a city manages development. How would your administration balance responsible regulation with the need to eliminate red tape and speed up permitting to keep housing attainable in Albuquerque?
Well, currently the average home buyer in Albuquerque is 38 years old. When I bought my first home, I was 19 years old. That needs to change. We need to make sure that we're able to provide housing at a cost so that our young people can actually afford a home and start their career and start their families. And so that is a huge problem. So with us, we need to actually make sure that we're actually building more, having more housing out there so that there is more competition. I think we need to educate home buyers on all the programs that are out there right now. I don't think we're doing a good enough job as a city. Under my administration, that's one of the things that we will do is we'll make sure that every single aspect of home buyers are out there so they can understand what's happening and how to get into that first home. We need to incentivize developers by making sure that the permitting is predictable so that they know when that house is going to be ready. Money, time is money, and we need to make sure that people are able to purchase a house timely.
Alex?
1 of 10 renters in Albuquerque can afford to buy a house. That's devastating for this industry. It has everything to do with a city that hasn't supported our young people, the people looking for housing, the people who are working in our city. So as a city, we need to do a couple things and not just look at our regulations, which we do need to, and the first thing I'll do in planning and zoning is do an audit of where all of our duplicative requirements are, where the bottlenecks are, and where we're slowing down, and invest the proper resources in that department so we can move permitting quicker. We also need to invest in building a city that's affordable, a city that has a potential for our youth for good jobs, a city that pays fair wages, and when we are using our using our tax incentives with the developers ensures that that we are using prevailing wage and union work. That way people can actually afford homes. That way people can afford to live in this city. And that way we can move our whole city forward out of this stagnancy where nobody can afford to live here into a place where you have a vibrant industry because people have good jobs and money. You can build quickly because the planning and zoning department moves quickly, and people will want to move and live here.
Eddie?
Thank you. I was just going to say, if Darren's voice goes, I'll help him out, okay? How was that? Housing. There's two parts of housing, and we get asked this question all the time. What is housing? Are you talking about an apartment, or are you talking about a home? I'm talking about a home. We got a lot of apartments. The rent is outrageous, $1,800 to $2,400 for 24. I want people to have a home. The average home now in Albuquerque is about $400,000. Who makes that kind of money to pay for that house? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get together the people who actually are the experts in this field, realtors, contractors, developers, and we're going to meet in this hall if we have to, and we're going to find out why our housing is so expensive. I go to other cities. I was in Houston recently, $225,000 turnkey house and beautiful home. What's wrong here? Why is this happening? We can fix it with leadership, and I can provide that.
Darren?
Thank you. One of the leading economic indicators, whether it's locally or nationally, is home sales. It's a huge part of our economy. And as home sales go, so does your economy. And I don't have to tell you, you all know that. One of the things that we have to do, and having talked to many builders, is that the zoning, our planning department has become so restrictive and so backlogged that it's making it nearly impossible for builders to get their plans back in a timely manner. As Eddie said, he's right, time is money. And when you're trying to get out from underneath that construction loan and into a conventional loan, you want it to be done as quickly as possible. So what I have proposed is that we privatize the planning department so that we can get that backlog taken care of, and most importantly, stay ahead of the game, because having an understanding of that.
Mayling?
Thank you. So I think the key word here is cost, the cost of housing, because it's gone up, because not just because how the city manages permitting, but crime. So the cost to build is expensive because now you have to buy security, you have to put fences around your development, or you have to purchase containers. So now your cost per square foot goes up. So we need to think of this as a multi-pronged issue, not just in development and planning. And that's a big issue as well. Businesses require predictability. And like I've always said, time kills deals, right? And anytime you don't know when you're going to get that permit, or you can't predict it, it now becomes a big liability on your balance sheet that you can't balance. So we have to work at the speed of business. We have to be business friendly. That's how you fix this. They've done it before. We haven't had these issues in the past with permitting. So we have to be business friendly, and we have to work at the speed of business.
Here is, it's a specific question. It's about what would you actually do? So I'm going to actually answer that question. First, we did an audit, and we found out that everything was too slow and the culture was bad and we were understaffed. So then, it took us a couple of years, but we added changes to fix the culture and to have a new IT system to make things digital and to change the culture of the staff. And so now, this year, all of a sudden, development review is down to 30 days, plan review is down to 15, and our code enforcement and safety inspections are less than 7. That is a 50% improvement since last year. So I know it took us a while, but we're actually doing the real work to make this better. And that's the difference. That's what this campaign is all about. So next up, we're going to have pre-approvals, and we're also going to have third-party plan review. And that is how we're going to efficiently balance how the city manages development in our city.
Thank you for all your responses. Next, we will start with Alex for this question. Addressing housing and economic challenges will require collaboration. How would you engage the real estate community, nonprofit housing providers, and private developers to expand housing opportunities across all income levels?
It's a great question because, as you all know, we need housing of all types. We need upscale, we need mid-range, we need affordable housing. And so this takes a strategic citywide approach of how we build. When we are giving out incentives, we need to think about both ensuring that we are developing that upscale housing, but we're also building in requirements for affordability and making sure that that's integrated into our new developments. We need to think about how we are working. So I look at the Austin model and how they looked at rezoning. And right now we have the benefit of some changes on the IDO along our transit corridors in downtown. Being able to focus our density work in those areas with combined incentives, with working with all of you, and with working with nonprofits and mission-driven developers to develop places that people want to live and walk and work in one place, to make our downtowns, make our transit centers, make these hubs vibrant areas where people want to live, is the critical first step in developing the city and bringing it back from where it is today.
Eddie?
Yes, I also agree. We need to do public-private cooperation and partnership for houses, and especially for first-time buyers. I know you have federal issues for first-time, but it's not working real well if you're not making $100,000 a year. The city of Albuquerque, under my administration, will commit to helping financially to help first-time buyers. It's never been done before, but I'll do it because I'm going to save a fortune, because I'm not going to be spending $200 million a year to the homeless. I'd rather take that $200 million and give it to first-time buyers and let them be able to own a home, because the young people of our city have lost the American dream. Absolutely, I'm for a partnership between government and private. It's the only thing that's going to work in our town. The situation is dire, and until the government starts helping the young people, we're going to continue to have this problem. Thank you.
Darren?
Thank you. The collaboration is important, making sure that as your city continues to grow, that you are working with the folks that do it every single day. And so I will absolutely have you sit at the table as we start to look at real solutions to the problem. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that when we sit down, we're going to drop home prices, because that's not going to happen. We all know that. It may adjust a little up and down, but to see a wholesale change in the price of homes, it's just not going to happen. But what can we do together as an administration, as an industry, as stakeholders? What can we do together to say, what are the things that we can, let's get everybody that we possibly can into a house. Being a veteran, Mayling and I are veterans. Maybe that also means setting up our own Veterans Affairs office where we can help people find a way to afford a home and utilize those very important VA loans. Thank you.
Mayling?
She wanted to hit that bell. I think she's trying to tell you something, Darren. Anyway, so here's the thing I would do. In the first month, I would pull all the real estate developers, nonprofit housing providers, all of you into a room, maybe separately, however it works, and be like, what is it that you need us to do to make you invest in our community? What is it you need? Do you need predictability in our permitting office? Do you need us to lower our impact fees? What is it costing you? But here's what I won't do. I won't put mandates on your investment. I won't tell you who to hire or how to hire or when to hire. I will let you do your job and be here to support you.
Jim?
Well, we did exactly what Mayling mentioned 3 years ago. It's called the Housing Forward Program, and I want to directly answer your question. What I heard is that we need to fix zoning, we got to fix the parking restrictions, we got to fix the height restrictions, and we have to legalize all dwellings, townhomes, et cetera, et cetera. It is up to a private landowner to decide what dwelling to build. And so that's exactly the zoning changes that I pushed through. And we've changed more of those in the last 2 years than we have in the last 40 combined. Then you said, partner with housing to do more housing. And so we partnered with, whether it's Soul Housing or Sawmill or Windrock or Mesa del Sol, regardless of what the type of housing was. And we said, yes, we will incentivize you. And that's why you see those projects happening right now. And then you said, work on the hotels and motels. Close them down because they're drug-ridden, which we did, and now we're converting them to housing, and we're doing it in step with what the market wants, not what a politician wants.
Louie?
Thank you. We understand that the rental cost right now for a small apartment complex, or for a small apartment, is probably about $1,000. That's a lot. We're also looking at current costs of $250 a square foot, which is quite expensive. So basically, the system, in a lot of ways, is broken. What we need to do, and what I will do, is make sure that we're doing the open communication for within the neighborhoods, the developers, and the people that are offering the lower income housing to make sure that we are doing it right. We have approved several projects at City Council. One of them was an $80 million project to help put people to work. One of the things that we're doing is we're putting people to work. We're making sure that people are working and also finding good places to live. There's a lot of different projects right now that are going on that is actually making sure that we cross all income levels. And that's what I will continue to do as mayor.
Alex? Oh,
think
wait,
I
we
started,
started
but I'll
with you.
go,
Yep,
yeah.
we started, so now back to Eddie. What is your signature idea to strengthen Albuquerque's competitiveness for jobs, talent, and investment, particularly against cities like Denver, Austin, and Phoenix?
Okay, I'd like to answer that question by adding one other city, and that's Rio Rancho. Okay, you cross the line and go into Rio Rancho, you don't see homeless. There's a cop on every corner, and they have the highest academic scores in the state, some of the best athletes in the state. That's the example that I would rather, because it's closer. Jobs, okay, CNN just opened a new trade center. The high schools have dropped their trades for the most part. We got to get back into the trade business. Matter of fact, I tell young people, maybe before you go to college, you better learn a trade, because that's where it's at now, you know, and they need to be developed. We need to have more apprenticeship programs by private sector, and I'm talking about the carpenters, the plumbers, the electricians. They have apprenticeship programs, but we need more, so that we can ensure that we're going to have jobs for our young people so they don't have to leave our town, because they're leaving in droves. So that's my plan, is to train, and keep the workforce strong. It used to be, and then something went wrong.
Darren?
We have a climate that is the envy of the nation. We have incredible scenic views, and we all know that. But unfortunately, we have a national reputation for being crime-ridden, for having a out-of-control homeless problem. I like to say that your business corridor is your welcome mat. And when people come into your city, it's one of the first places that they're going to visit and take a ride and look around. Can you imagine if you're coming in from New York or Florida or anywhere and you go, hey, let's take a ride up Central Avenue, your business corridor? Oh my God, how embarrassing to think that happened. Because they'd probably turn around, drive back to the airport, and leave. We have got to get this problem under control, folks, because if we don't, we're all going to be needing affordable housing, because the jobs and the opportunities are going to dry up.
Mayling?
So economic development is not difficult. It really is super simple, because if you have a business-friendly environment and a business-friendly administration, jobs will come. Because business-friendly means that you are working at the speed of business. They can, again, predictability in our industry is so key to making a profit and to making a living. And so that's really the key to this, is understanding how simple it is. That's the first thing. The second thing on talent, we need to partner more with our CNM and UNM. And we need to talk about the type of workforce we're training and what type of jobs we're attracting and making sure we have that workforce in-house. The challenge that we have is that some of the universities like Denver and Austin and Phoenix focus on some type of specialty program, whether it's aerospace or fiber optics, whatever the case may be, but that's what we need to focus on so that we can attract those types of companies and those types of jobs.
Tim?
The question is about a signature idea, so I'm going to give you one idea, because that's what the question is. The last time Albuquerque grew with double-digit growth all over the city was when the labs came because of nuclear technology. That is our competitive advantage. The problem is we've lost sight of that. That's why I am all in on some things that sound crazy, like quantum computing and fusion. This is the new version of nuclear technology, and it is the only thing that we already beat Denver, Austin, and Phoenix at. You look at the Pacific Fusion Company that I brought here 2 weeks ago. That is 1,000 new jobs that creates unlimited renewable energy for the future of the world. That is a big idea. That is as big as the concept of nuclear technology. Quantum computing is about computers, so we don't need all these data centers. If you want to pick one thing that will bring our children back and that will keep our children here and lift up our economy, it has to be nuclear technology.
Louie?
Thank you. Albuquerque currently does not have any Fortune 500 headquarters located in Albuquerque. We're 5% above the national average on employment, and we're also 19,000 people who are unemployed in Albuquerque. What we need to do is really work hard on these issues. Kirtland right now is the only game in town. We need to make sure that we build bigger industry. With my administration, I'll hire the best economic development director so that we can bring the large companies, the billion-dollar companies to Albuquerque, which will actually help your children stay. My children left because of crime. You get right down to the nitty-gritty, nobody wants to come here because of the crime. They turn us down over and over and over because of the issues of crime. We also need to work on doctors, getting doctors here, and also the education and making sure that our young people are getting trades education. That's what we'll do. That's what I will do in my administration.
Alex?
Yeah, we do need a specialty program here, and I'll argue that we should invest in one that we already are leading in, which is solar. This is a program that we look both at the investment in our kids and the skilled trades to build the solar panels, the energy storage, and the folks who can install it. But we also look at building a city that has a workforce already trained to build these things instead of training new people for quantum or fusion. What this means is good jobs for everything from specialties to developing them to engineering to installation. It means we can export panels and energy storage sources to other places. It means we can sell energy to other places and make money. It means we can build a federal government for every solar panel, every watt produced on top of a government building. It also means we save the planet. It's also a thing we have lots of here, unlike Denver and Austin, which is the sun.
Okay, our next question, we'll start with Darren. Many Albuquerque neighborhoods struggle with vacant properties and disinvestment. What would you do to encourage reinvestment and equitable growth across all parts of the city?
Well, first of all, let me say this, Jessica. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't penalize buildings because they're not occupied currently. Because we have created such a mess in our community that these folks that own these buildings are not able to lease them. I told somebody, do you really think that people purchase buildings as investments, though, so they can sit there boarded up? No. They want to be able to have a vital and robust downtown. So what was our answer to them? You have to form a registry, and we're going to start charging you for them. That, here's the philosophical difference of what you'll find with me and maybe some others. I will be there as a partner with you. I don't think the government has all the solutions, because that one to me was not a bright idea. And so I go back to, we got to clean up our city, we have to make it shine, and we have to remember the quality of life of the people who live here.
Mayling?
Thank you. So vacant properties and that's a detriment to any community, and we see it happening right now. And so what I would do to encourage reinvestment and equitable growth is affect the things I can control. For example, the property taxes. Can we abate certain taxes so then that would incentivize you to invest that money that in lieu of paying taxes into that building or neighborhood? And it would be equitable across the board because we want to encourage it everywhere. And whatever we can do as a city to decrease the cost. And here's the thing, crime again is impacting this because they can't invest in neighborhoods because insurance rates have doubled and quadrupled in some areas. So we have to work on bringing crime down so the cost of doing business goes down so that they can reinvest. But in the meantime, we as a city need to look at deferring any costs.
Tim?
So the short answer to the question is we have to invest. And the question is, how do we do it in a way that works? And that's why I believe in creating more economic hubs or economic anchors. Our city was not built with these like other cities are, in the sense that there's a live, work, play place near your home. And so that's why we're trying to create these all over the city and string them together. Many of you have seen them, 7th and Central. It's a curated effort to lift up a disadvantaged area. What we're doing with the C&M Film Academy going to the rail yards is the same thing. The Windrock total redevelopment is the same thing. The Sawmill is the same thing. We're doing this in spades all over the city, even in small ways, like the bridges, Tin Can Alley. We need dozens of these types of developments all over the city, and that's what we're trying to do. But we also have to fix up the big driver of a problem, and that's why we're redoing the Wells Fargo building and making it housing, and that giant empty building at Central and San Mateo, the Bank of the West. That is how we lift up neighborhoods, and that's a specific answer to a specific question.
Louie?
Thank you. The largest amount of boarded up buildings are where? Right in our central corridor, right where a failed art project is moving people up and down. What I'm seeing, I have a business on Central, and it's extremely difficult to do business on Central based on the fact that we have boarded up businesses, no left turn bays, and we have crime that's being committed on Central constantly. It's very, very difficult for a small business owner to move into these areas that are totally boarded up and get it going when you have crime. Crime, again, is our biggest issue, and homelessness is our biggest issue that we need to make sure that we tackle. And right now, what I've done on Central is I've actually reached out to 5 congressional delegates in reference to the FAST project in order to try to change that project and move it a little and make it move. We have $100 million in clawbacks on Central. We have a centennial celebration for the longest stretch of Route 66 in the nation, and we can't do anything right at this point. Under my administration, we'll work on that and get it done. Thank you.
Alex?
You all know that vacant properties aren't a net neutral. They are a drag down in everything around them. And so it's our responsibility to take a look at them, see who owns them, and get them lived in. A lot of these, and you'll see James Shaley is here in the audience with us. He has walked the corridor and numbered out the hundreds of properties that are vacant, the hundreds of buildings that need just a little bit of upgrades to be livable, the hundreds of places that are owned by the city that we should be activating. And so that is where the public-private partnership comes in. We should take a look at all the places and the parcels the city owns and work with developers to build on those properties. We should renovate and upgrade the existing structures so we're not bulldozing them and parceling them out to large developers. And then we should focus on looking at out-of-state landlords, finally, right? Once we've done those first 2 steps, and see who is sitting on properties that are laying vacant and how we can incentivize them, or I'll say force them, to build and occupy those spaces, because we can't allow vacant spaces, vacant storefronts in our city. That is where it falls to disarray.
Eddie?
Thank you. The art program was a disaster. None of us wanted it. It was done anyway. They disregarded with him, and now it's a disaster. I'm going to tear the whole thing out. We're going to put buses on the side of the road where they belong. And I'm not worried about writing letters to congressional delegates. $100 million that the feds gave us and the clawback sort of thing, I'll take care of that in the budget immediately. I studied the budget. We got it's 1.5 billion. We got that if it comes to that, but either way it's coming out so that we can reopen these small businesses and help these people because it drove them out of business. And we have vacancies all over town, commercial, you guys know that. Let's get people in business. Let's get them past the code enforcement and past all the bureaucracy of government and get them in these vacant buildings because there they are. Let's use them. Thank you.
Our next question, we'll start with Mayling. How would you measure the success of Albuquerque's homelessness programs to ensure funding is producing real results and moving people into stable housing?
Well, specified goals, measured outcomes. I mean, that's anything that you put money behind, you should have those tied to it. You know, and I get that sometimes it's a reality, like going down First Street or going down Central. You want to see a difference, but we definitely need to have measured outcomes and specified goals. But when you're talking about real results and moving people into stable housing, you have to have more housing. And the struggle is that we just haven't kept up with the pace of building as other cities have surrounding us. And I'm talking like Los Lunas, Belen, Rio Rancho. They are building at a pace faster than we are because they have a city that works. So we have to encourage more building so that we can stabilize our housing demand.
Tim?
Well, I measure them. That's why we built the gateway system. When I came in, the measurement was 0. The city helped 0 people every night. Now, tonight, the city will help 1,000 people off the street. I know there are 5,000 people unhoused. That's why we have to expand and continue the work on the gateway system. I also know that I measure success with what it's done in terms of getting people into housing. And we've put 2,300 people into housing from the gateway system. We track these metrics every day. The challenge is not what to do. We know that works. We just have to have everyone's buy-in to continue doing it and open it full bore with all of the 5 different locations for teens and families, and most importantly, addiction. The homelessness problem is largely driven by addiction. And until we have treatment, which the city just opened 200 beds, another metric, we have to have more. We need thousands of beds for treatment. That is the only metric that will actually make us feel better each day.
Well, what I just heard is a way to attract more homeless to our community. Right now, we've spent over $300 million on a facility that is not doing the job. Right now, you can drive up and down Central, and you are seeing it for yourself. There's people strung out all over the streets of Albuquerque. I've never seen so many zombies. I'm a retired police officer. I have been out there, and I have seen more zombies than I've ever seen in my whole life and career at APD. We are in dire straits. Recently, we heard at another forum that the mayor's services are extremely inhumane. He had never even knew about it. They told him right at the forum. And he should have been following up and making sure that these places are audited and making sure that the well-being of these individuals are taken care of. And they are not. Pit count has doubled. What needs to be done is I will enforce laws and guide them into long-term treatment and hopefully get them into housing. Thank you.
Alex?
Yeah, the answer to the question of how we measure success is the number of people who are living on our streets, which has doubled in the past 3 years. And no matter how much resources we put behind it, the evidence that we have is that it's not working. Now, I'll take a different approach to responsibility here. I know we've referred to Rio Rancho and other places in our states. They have solved their problems by sending them to us. And so what we need, but I have a different view of responsibility as well. We're the largest metropolitan area in the state. It is actually our responsibility to solve problems for New Mexico. And so while Rio Rancho should pay their fair share, right, for these solutions, as everyone else who sends us their problems, what we should do is develop the solutions that work for everybody, and we can. What we know is the solutions we have right now are not. We know that most of the people who are being housed every night, the 1,000 people who are in the West Side shelter. That's 600 people who have no way out of that place into housing. There is no transition for them out of the shelter. It is merely a night 1 crisis response. We really need to invest in actually solving the problem.
Eddie?
Okay. F- for the city's attempt on this issue of the homeless. When I think about providing help for people, I think of a 25-year-old couple, a man and a woman with a little baby living in an apartment. That's who I want to pay to get into a house. The homeless are not on my priority for housing. I'm sorry. I have a plan to reduce the numbers. Thank you. I'm going to reduce the numbers substantially. Right now, we're looking at 10 to 12,000. I'm going to have private security, like you saw coming in, actually walking and talking with the homeless like I do, and we're going to find out who they are, where they came from, and we're going to send them home, and we're going to pay for it. This is ridiculous. Everybody's talking about we need to do more for the homeless. No, we need to do more for our youth and our regular tax-paying people. Thank you.
Darren?
So the mayor started by saying that when he came into office, he helped 0 people. Mayor, that's because we didn't have a crime or a homeless problem like we do now. We have a homeless... We have a homeless problem in this city because we let the homeless do whatever the hell they want to do. And it has to stop. If I'm elected, the tent cities come down on day 1. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on these programs. And the Supreme Court ruled last year, if your city has programs and shelters available, you can enforce your laws as it relates to homeless. The law is clear in Albuquerque. You cannot camp on our streets You can't camp on our sidewalks or in our parks. And so guess what? We will go out, we'll offer them service. If they refuse or deny it, we will cite them, and then if they don't move, they'll get arrested. Because let me say it again, they come down on day one.
Our next question will start with Tim. Housing construction often depends on city infrastructure like roads, water, and sewer. How will you ensure Albuquerque invests in infrastructure to support new housing without overburdening existing neighborhoods or taxpayers?
Well, the short answer to that question is we just need to invest in the city, not outside of the city. So we use existing infrastructure. That's why I support infill in every way, and that's why I'm not a fan of sprawl. But I am not going to let some of those comments go that we just heard. It is not illegal to be homeless. And I tell you, thank you. You want to ship homeless people out of here by force? That is illegal, that is immoral, and it's wrong. I know that's what would make you feel better, but I will never do it. And also, you can't do it. So if you want to just believe the red meat that everyone's throwing out here, vote for them. I don't want your vote.
Thank you.
Louie?
Thank you. City infrastructure is extremely important. Right now, I live on the west side, and I'm dealing with infrastructure issues every single day. How many people live on the west side? Look at that. That means every single person that raised their hand is involved in infrastructure issues. That means we are building prior to infrastructure, and we need to flip that. Under my administration, I'm going to do everything I can to flip that infrastructure so that we build infrastructure prior to building. You look at other cities that are near us, that's what they do. They have infrastructure ready to go, developments are ready to move in, and the infrastructure is already there. Under Louie Sanchez, we're going to have infrastructure first.
Alex?
Yeah, so it's investing in our city centers. It's not sprawling, it's resisting the impulse to sprawl outwards and build more out. It's looking at where the places we already have places, structures, and infrastructure existing. And it's upgrading those as we build. It's making sure we're thinking comprehensively as we work a street, as we work a block, that we're upgrading every piece of infrastructure from its sewage to its electrical to its high frequency fiber. And so I think when we look at our city, what we need to do is build up and focus strategically in the places where people want to live and walk and play, and not think out where we can never support, where the property taxes will never be able to support the infrastructure that we need to support those areas.
Eddie?
Of course I support infrastructure by the city. Who wouldn't? That's a very, very complex issue. It's very expensive, but to draw the developers and the contractors, we have to put in the infrastructure and help them. Let me give you an example of infrastructure talk that kind of blows me away. The state fair. I'm against selling the state fair 100%. And I'll tell you why. Because the city said they're going to put in the infrastructure and they're going to do low-cost housing. I don't believe it. How can you go into the state fair, put infrastructure, and then build low-cost housing? It's not going to work. But absolutely, I'm for helping with the infrastructure. The city should be doing that anyway, like they do in other cities.
Darren?
We have to reinvest in roads. You all know as realtors, it is critical for economic development. Our roads are crumbling and we have to reinvest in them. I also want to start the process of exploring a new bridge over to the west side as well. It's where the growth is and it's where we need to invest our money. Let me just simply say, Mayor, I know you like to make, what I'm doing is cruel, and you want to be known as the advocate for the homeless. You really don't have to convince us. We know you are. Listen, I say this to you. It's cruel for the families and the businesses that have to live in that cesspool, in that unbelievable filth and crime. I can't even explain to you how bad it is in some of those homeless tent cities. And let me say this, Mayor, if one of those tent cities popped up in the country club area, that thing would come down at breakneck speed. We allow it to happen in these communities because we don't care about those communities.
Mayling?
So the budget's a little over $1.5 billion. So we need to look, as a city, we have to go back to basics. It's quality of life, crime, community services, and infrastructure. So I would look at the budget and what we need to do to move money around to focus on infrastructure. I'm not against sprawl. I'm not against building. Like that's industry. That's what we do. That's jobs. So that's what we need. But I'm also for infill as well, if there is a demand for that. But we have to create that demand as well.
Okay, thank you. And this next question, we'll start with Louie. Speaking of infill, what's your vision for revitalizing Albuquerque's core, including downtown, through housing and mixed-use development? And how can we turn underused properties into thriving neighborhoods?
Currently, City Council just approved $80 million to actually start working on approval downtown and making sure that downtown's a better place. There's lots of things going on downtown that are going to make it livable, walkable, and workable. What we need to do in reference to downtown is we also need to make sure that we are improving with public safety corridors where officers can get there quickly, where we can have cameras to make sure that people don't violate the law, where we can get to people to make sure that if there's something happening, that their safety is first. Those are the things that we need to do. Also, right now, through the mayor's office and city council, we actually, and I shouldn't say we because I didn't vote on it, but they approved actually fining these businesses that are closed up, and we need to do something better and incentivize these businesses so that they can grow and thrive. And that's something I will be doing under my administration.
Alex?
I'd love to see a large entertainment anchor for downtown, but that's not enough. We need to be able to draw people down by building more infill, taking advantage of, I think, 2469. It allows us to build up, build density, and build a walkable and livable city in our downtown core. Because as you all know, a city's heart is its downtown, and that's not what it feels like right now. And so what we need to do is truly invest not only time and energy, but incentives into these developments downtown that bring people into affordable housing, their first-time housing, so that young folks can come and live and walk and work downtown. And then we have the supports to patronize the businesses that we are filling into our downtown corridor so that people can patronize them, buy things there, eat there, drink there, and revitalize this city core so that we have a city that we are proud of.
Eddie?
You know, I grew up downtown. I remember when it was a thriving, wonderful place and bubbling, and the reason it was because there was business downtown. The city has done a wonderful job of building apartments downtown. There are thousands of apartments, and they seem to be full of people, but they don't have anywhere to shop. You know, they have to leave. They can't walk downtown. It sounds good because of homelessness and crime. What I would propose to these big, giant buildings that we have condemned to being registered is remodel them with city help and city expense, turn them into 1,000-square-foot storefronts, and let business open downtown. That will attract the people who live downtown. We need a grocery store downtown, right? And all these empty buildings are available for remodel if we help them as a city. And I see this all over the country, 3-story buildings that have been remodeled to be 1,000-square-foot retail spaces, and the people who live downtown will shop downtown.
Darren?
So we do have, I agree with what Alex said. It'd be great to have an entertainment anchor in downtown. But let's remember, we do have some great anchors down there, like the El Rey Theater. Let's talk about the El Rey Theater. I know some of the people that purchased that 6 years ago. When they purchased it, their insurance was $32,000 a year. That's reasonable when you think there's also liquor involved. It is now $138,000 a year. That's $11,000 a month. And as small business owners, we know you just don't absorb $11,000 a month without it hurting. The hardest part about that was literally 2 weeks after they got the increase and they decided to pay it, their security guard tried to stop somebody from stealing liquor, and he was shot. He's okay, it was in the leg, but the problem with it is, as they said to me, next year, we won't even get insurance. And so we have to address these problems because...
Mayling?
I'll finish your sentence, Darren, because we're on the same page there. Again, it comes down to the cost of doing business. I mean, this isn't hard. This isn't hard. I don't understand why he doesn't get this, because if we don't bring down crime, if we don't focus on businesses and helping businesses, we will not see revitalization. You won't see an anchor tenant. And here's the thing, and we can't pay for other people's insurance premiums. We can't do that as a city. But we can find ways, in addition to reducing crime, to helping businesses, whether it's, again, lowering the cost of doing business by lowering fees or property taxes. What are the most expensive liabilities on a balance sheet for a business? Property taxes and employees. So let's try to help them in a more realistic manner.
Tim.
So I was born and raised here, and downtown has always had these issues. It had the same cost issues, same crime issues, same issues. It's always been like this. And the reason is because I believe it's politicians thinking they can solve the problem. I have a different approach. I believe in an actual answer, not just saying that we need a better downtown. So that's why I passed the tax increment district for downtown. So downtown controls its own money, $100 million that can go to any one of these ideas. But the point is downtown should decide. That's what we've set up. The other one is a business improvement district. So they control the rules. They control what they want to use public service for. They control the events. That's why I support the downtown business improvement district. Give downtown its money and its power. Then downtown will be successful. Every major city in America with a successful downtown, you know what they all have in common? Politicians don't run it. They all have their own separate authority. That's the real answer long term.
Okay, this is going to be our final question before we get to closings. It's one some of you have touched on. Albuquerque often struggles to retain young professionals and families. How would you make the city a more desirable place to live, build a future through housing, safety, and opportunity? And we are going to start with Alex on this one.
The future of our city touches on all of the major issues that you've already heard about today, and number one is safety. Right? When I talk with young professionals and I talk with people here, what they say is their kids or they are moving away because they don't feel safe here and they don't feel like they have opportunity. And so for us, the responsibility is not just to police better, right? So solve crimes quicker and hold people accountable by building cases for court so we can detain and sentence serious criminals, but also to prevent and intervene on the front end. One thing that we can do here that would make a world of difference is if we had a proactive, dedicated domestic violence unit in APD. Because we know domestic violence is the heart of so many drivers to crime, including ACEs for kids, including kids ending up in the foster care system, which is the #1 determinant of kids ending up on the street. And so by us thinking proactively about how we protect our community, how we prevent crime before it happens, how we support those who are suffering from addiction and mental health and poverty, proactively by giving them the medical treatment that they need and the housing that they deserve, so we can keep people off of our streets and in our houses.
Eddie?
Retaining young professionals. God has blessed me with 9 children. They're all grown and they're all young professionals. Only 2 live in Albuquerque because of the issues that you've heard out here. It's dangerous here to live here for young people. The opportunities are not what they are in other cities, so people move away. APS is down 1,000 students. People are leaving our city. They really are, and I hear that in my journey all the time. I'm born and raised here. I'm leaving this city. It's too dangerous. I'm scared to death. I'm afraid for my wife to even go to. So to address this issue of retaining young professionals, we must address homeless and crime, and I will do that because we're losing doctors, and we're losing them because the UNM's 100% Medicaid. Yeah, it's the problem with with their insurance, but also private insurance pays doctors more than Medicaid. And that's our problem.
Darren?
Yes, it's not just young professionals. It's people who are starting to retire too. There's a lot of people leaving our community for a variety of reasons. I think a lot of people don't feel safe. And I'm talking about our peer group. Our peer group, thank you.
That's not me.
Listen, a lot of that has to do with the fact, like Eddie said, we have doctors. And so there are so many things working against us in our community. But our young people, yes, they are leaving because they see better opportunities elsewhere, because they want to raise their children in an environment that is safe and secure. And most importantly, it provides a good quality of life. And so I believe in that Albuquerque. I know it's there. Albuquerque is desirable. We just got to get it back to where it was. And that's going to take some work. It's not going to be saying, well, just let downtown handle it now. It does, we've tried for so long, just let them do it. No, it means leadership, taking charge.
Mayling?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is an issue. I have nieces and nephews that range from the age of 18 to 25, and the older ones have all left. They're either in Denver or Phoenix working. And so it hurts mainly my mother, but, you know, I love them too. But, you know, when it comes to housing, again, it's a shortage. We need to build. We need to build an environment that it's good to build and that you will make a living building. And safety, I mean, we beat that thing to death today. I mean, crime's an issue. It's an issue. That's the number one thing on 90% of Albuquerqueans is crime. And we have to address that, and we have to address it more aggressively. And opportunity comes with working with our universities and our trades so that we can help create those and attract the industries because we have the job force here.
Tim?
Well, we certainly have to do more than one thing at once. So I agree, we have to do public safety. But we've also got to make sure that, I think the key is about young people. Young people need a place to live. So that's why housing has been a huge focus of my administration. That's why we built 2,000 units, and that's why we're subsidizing another 7,000 units. We have a 20,000 unit shortage. So that has to be part of the answer. But the other one is a job. They stay here for a job. And this is where our answers to the economic development question are so important. The job growth is all in manufacturing or technology, manufacturing related to that technology, that is all around aerospace, directed energy, and nuclear technology. That's what's going to keep our kids here. But the other thing is, it's also about fun and entertainment. These are young professionals. And so that is why I support a United Stadium. That's why I'm not giving up on it, even though the voters turned it down, because we're going to do it in the right way and respect the voters and put it out at Balloon Fiesta. That's also why I support the Sawmill in Windrock and Park Plaza, because that's where young people go. That's what they love. That's why we need more of them, and that's what I'll do as your mayor.
Louie?
When I talk to young people who are leaving our city, and two of them are my children, their first thing out of their mouth was crimes out of control, leadership, no public trust, and economic development. Those were the four things that they told me. My daughter left because she did not want to raise her kids here. There's no doctors here. So what we need to do is we need to partner with APS, make sure that we work with this academy program that's going on right now that APS is starting. We need to make sure that we actually have training for the trades. We need to make sure that our medical professionals stay in Albuquerque. Right now, if you've experienced it like I've experienced, my actual primary care physician is gone because of our medical issues. So those kinds of things would help keep our people here and keep our young people here. Economically, they need to make sure that they have jobs so that they can survive and so they can buy houses. And we need to make sure that the housing market is moving forward so that there's competition, so that everyone can afford a house here in Albuquerque. That's what will happen under my administration.
Okay, now everyone will have a minute for closings, and we'll start with Eddie.
Thank you. I'm Eddie Varela. I'm the grassroots candidate that refuses to take money from anyone. I'm very proud of that. 2 years ago, I started walking the streets and I decided I will not be governed by special interests, and I'm not. I'm at the same level that everybody has here. You know what? I'm proud of what we've done. I have refused money. I haven't asked anybody for a dime because I want the mayor to be unencumbered by anybody or their money. It's working for us, and I believe that we're going to prevail. And I'm Eddie Varela for mayor, and I can make the difference because I have leadership. Proven ability, 30 years. I've owned a business as well, and I'm the guy that make our city work and not be worried about special interests. Maybe they won't like what I have to say. Thank you.
Darren?
This is a consequential election. There is a lot that is wrong with Albuquerque right now. So before you cast your vote, I ask you to ask this question. What will Mayor Keller do in 12 years that he hasn't done in 8? I have pledged, if elected, to only serve for 4 years. I want to get into office, roll up my sleeves, and clean up the mess. And not be burdened by having to worry. You heard the mayor talk a lot about the changes that were happening this year in the city. Well, that's because it's an election year. I don't want to be burdened by that. I just want to get to work and clean up the mess. It is disheartening. It's troubling for us. those of us who live in this city and those of us who love this city to see that the shape that it is in. I'll just put it bluntly. Mayor Keller is running to save his political career. I'm running to save our city. I'm Darren White, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Mayling.
When I was applying for my first job, a professor of mine said, the best that you will ever look is the day of your interview. Because most management, in myself in management, I know when I'm looking at an interviewee or being interviewed, that's the best that they're going to be that day. And anything after that is anybody's guess. So, two things, right? You get the job, and it takes you 8 years to do it, and you're asking for more time. So how many of you in the private industry are like, I just need 4 more years? I know you've given me 8, would still have a job, right? So here's what's happening. This is the best you will see of Tim Keller is right now. This is it, because you've seen 7 years of nothing. So Darren's right. What are you going to get? Nothing, because this is the best you've seen of him. So please pay attention. There is a variety of flavors on this stage. Pick the right one.
Tim.
Well, I think what you're seeing clearly is like none of these people want me to be mayor. I get that. I get that. The challenge is they haven't made a case about why they should be your mayor going forward. They haven't answered the specific questions. You may not like my answers. That's okay. I respect that. But I give you specific answers to every question. Because what's hard about being mayor, what's leadership, is how to fix these problems. And yeah, they do take time. You layer in COVID and everything else, it is not easy to turn around 40 years of decline in Albuquerque. And for me, the question really is this. It's not about the last 8 years. It's who is best equipped to deal with the next 4. That is what has not been articulated today. There's just talk about the problem, or there's talk about me, but there's no answer. I at least give you answers. That's what you're voting for going forward. And that is what leadership is all about. That is why we need strong, experienced leadership that has a clear plan and the guts to see it through.
Louie.
Thank you. The definition of insanity, everybody knows that, right? The same thing over and over and over with different results. I'm running for mayor to change, to stop the insanity. That is the bottom line. What we're looking at here is every single one of us has seen it. You know, when you get right down to the questions and answering specific questions, you know, Albuquerque is an unprecedented crime-ridden city that has lost confidence in the police department and the city administration. We have a proactive council. We're working everything we can do. But you know what? Why did the mayor sue the AFD, and why did the mayor sue city council? Obviously, something's wrong there. If you want another question, is the mayor's had 8 years of budgets. Everything that we've given him over and over to fight crime, homelessness is doubled, and we're still in a problem. So where did all that money go, Mayor? I am running to make sure that the citizens of Albuquerque know where their money's going.
Alex.
If you all were sitting on Mayling's interview panel and someone came in and said, "Don't judge me on my resume," you would laugh them out of the room, right? You need to judge us on our resumes, on the work that we have done on the past 8 years of this administration, the 32 months that I spent as a U.S. attorney, and 15 years that I spent here in public service and public safety. So I'll tell you a little bit about that time. In the 32 months I was in charge, the lead federal law enforcement officer for New Mexico, I led that office to the single largest budgetary shortfall in the history of the Department of Justice. I had to cut our operating budget by 50% for the 200 people that worked there, yet I didn't fire a single federal employee. Yet I moved that whole office from paper to digital. Yet I took down the largest fentanyl seizure in the history of the nation. Yet I took down 30 years of corruption in Albuquerque's police department. Yet I built the first federal reentry court to help people coming back from federal lockup reintegrate into our community. I also built the first missing and murdered indigenous persons program and database nationwide. Judge us on our records. We all have them. Some of us have been executives, some of us haven't, but that is how you know whether we're going to deliver results for the people of Albuquerque. Thank you.
And with that, I want to really thank the Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors. I want to thank our audience, and I really want to thank the candidates. Thank you for being willing to be up here and answering all our questions. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
How about a round of applause for Jessica?